Today we're going to learn about basic Excel skills. The basic Excel skills we would like to learn today are the average, the mode, and percentiles. These are going to be used in the first 2 to 3 sections of your investigation. Therefore, it's essential you listen carefully to this video and you work well today. This data here is to do with the money I spent during a 5-month period travelling to many different countries. You can see the different currencies here on the E column. There are a few skills I need you to learn. The first skill we're going to learn about, which will help with the average, mode and percentiles, is to organise the data. To organise the data, what you need to do is you go to one of the columns and you are going to press the drop down arrow and you click sort sheet A to Z or Z to A. This will then organise it in currency. If you wanted to organise it in terms of category, which is the category of spending, you go to column C. Again, you do sort sheet A to Z and it will do that. Let's go back to the previous option. If we reverse our steps a couple of times, we're going to get where we sorted the data from A to Z. Now what I'm going to do is choose a currency. I'm going to choose, for example, Fijian dollars, and I'm going to now copy these onto a new spreadsheet. If I copy these into a new spreadsheet, what I'm going to do is the following. I will select the top number, and then with the top number, I'm going to press Shift, and then I can select others as I'm going along. So now I've selected all the different cells. What I'm going to do now is copy the data. So I'm going to press Command Copy, and then you can see the dotted line will go around the data. I'm now going to go onto a new sheet. Press Copy or Command V. Now we've got all our Fijian dollars. What I'd like to do is analyse this bit of information. So we are going to analyse, as I spoke about, the averages, the percentile and the mode. So copying this bit of data over to the other spreadsheet, or the other sheet within the spreadsheet, we can talk about each of these 3 things one by one. The first thing I'm going to do is calculate the average. To calculate the average, you have to write equals average in capital letters. This is how all Excel formulas work. You write equals, the command you want to do, and then you open a bracket. Once you've opened a bracket, what we're going to do is we're going to select our data. Normally it will suggest what average it wants to select. So if you press enter, sometimes it decides and it guesses what you want to select, but in this instance it hasn't. So we're going to select the top one, and then I'm going to press the shift key, and then I'm going to hold the shift key and I'm going to press the last key. Or you can just type this in, D1 to D17. Press enter. There we go. This means that my average spend for Fijian dollars was $26.93. So what I'd like you to do then is write a comment about the average in your books. So you're going to write a subheading of Fiji, and then you're going to say the average cost of spending in Fiji was $26.94 Fijian dollars. And then you might say to yourself, well, what is a Fijian dollar in euros? So what I would do is I'd go onto Google and I'd say conversion rate or exchange rate between euros and Fiji dollars. And it says that €1 is 2 Fijian dollars. So under this in our books, we're going to write €1 is equal to 2.4 Fijian dollars. So what we need to then do is we take the 26.94 and we're going to convert it now into euros. So we take 26.94 divided by 2.4. So normally you would do this on the computer or your calculator, but actually we can do this on the spreadsheet. So we type in equals, and then we're going to write 26.94, and then we're going to put divide, which is going to be a slash, and then we're going to put divide by 2.4, and then you can see that the average cost was 11.225, but we need to round it, so it's to do with money. So what you would do is you would decrease the decimal place, and then it rounds it for you. Finally, we're going to make an observation. We click wrap, and then you can see it all in one cell. To change the width of the cell, you just move it like this. So just to go over different things, the first thing we did was we found the data, we copied it, and we pasted it here. We then ordered the data using the drop-down list. We then wrote this section in our book, and the way we started to write this was to find the average. We wrote equals average, we selected the data we wanted to find. We then use the conversion rate between euros to Fiji and dollars, and then we use a simple equation to find out the amount. We then decrease the decimal place, and then we wrote our own sentence. So that is the kind of thing I would like you to do today for the average. Another thing I'd like you to do is the mode in your book. So when you're doing the mode, what you need to do is just, as you expected, you would type equals mode, and then we're just going to select the data. Again, the same data as before. Press enter. The mode is 10, and that's because 10 appears twice. Then you might try and work out, is it better to use the modal value or the average value for this type of data? You might talk about whether this data is qualitative or quantitative, and therefore what is the best bit of data to use. Last but not least, we're going to do the percentile. So the percentile is, if we have all these numbers, what data bit appears 25% of the way through the data? Which data bit appears 50%, which is therefore the median, and which bit appears 75%? So there are 5 bits of data we need to know. We need to know the minimum, quartile 1, the median, quartile 3, and the maximum. So to find the minimum, what we do is we type equals minimum, and we would just select these values again, and it would work out the minimum for us. The next one, quartile 1, we're going to type in percentile. It says the data and then the percentile. So again, we're going to select the data, comma, and it says we now need to write the percentile. So quartile 1 is 25% through the data. So that's 0.25 as a decimal. There we go. The next one we're going to do is the median. So we type equals percentile, and the median is going to be 50% of the data. So we're going to put comma 0.5. And then last but not least, we're going to deal with quartile 3. So we write percentile. And then we're going to write 75%, 0.75, press enter. And then last but not least, we're going to have maximum. So with the maximum, we are going to select the data, and we are going to write, you could write maximum as it is all the data altogether, or you could just write maximum and select the data here, And that's our answer. So we've got the minimum, quartile 1, median, quartile 3, maximum. In today's task, what I'd like you to do is do this for as many countries as you can and try and have a think, well, what do each of these things mean? In the next few lessons, we'll discuss what they mean. This is to do with box plots. So if we drew a box plot, how would this look? Think about what you did in previous year groups as what each of these keywords mean. You may want to look them up as well. Good luck.